and this is one chapter in the book. And so I just thought, I'm putting these all on my YouTube, so if you ever miss one, you can always go there. And I'm going to start, when we start reading, I really want to go through the book chapter by chapter, talk about anything that maybe you feel that you want to share, you feel is relevant, and then we can kind of work like that, right? And if it's just me by myself, that's okay too. And you could share something that maybe you saw in it on the YouTube channel, right? Which is just my, it's just like my channel, Karma Bhakti Yoga, but YouTube is also the same name. So either way, so just kind of a little thing, there's a couple of different writings here, but it just says it's a universally renowned jewel of India's spiritual wisdom spoken by Lord Sri Krishna. Lord Sri Krishna, they believe is God, right? Now, there are many people that read this book that don't believe or not believe, right? So I just need to say that on the front end. You believe what you believe, but you can take the learnings in this book and apply them to your life, and your life can change. And I am actually someone, if you knew me from a long time ago, you would be like, wow, Stacy has, not Stacy, Shakti Devi Dasi has definitely changed and grown, right? And yeah, I'm just a year or two older, but I've also learned a lot through going through these readings, not just for myself, but with other people. And I've done it time and time again. And each time I go through it, I learn more. So it's really amazing about what we can learn about ourselves if we give ourselves a minute to really just look and see, right? So if you look at the Bhagavad-Gītā as it is, I'm just going to talk about setting the scene. So what's really great about it is it's set on a battlefield, right? And the Bhagavad-Gītā originally appears in an episode in the Mahabharata. And the epic Sanskrit history of this ancient world, the Mahabharata tells events leading up to the present age. The present age right now is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is a very wild time for anyone, for all animals and people alike. But when you're a person, one of the things that you learn through the Gita is that you're not this body, right? Like, this body is not mine. It's like a Halloween costume, right? So I am a true spirit soul. That is what I am. And so as you begin to learn and grow through this book and through the learnings, you start to see. Now, in the settings of this book, it talks about this war that's about to happen on setting the scene in Kurukshetra, which is, I think it's old Delhi, Dwarka. And Sri Krishna he says, I can be, there's two families, the Pandavas, who have, the Pandavas are the sons of Pandu. Pandu died early, and he had 5 sons, and they were all so virtuous. And no matter what happened, they really couldn't be swayed. Now, there was one time, which is just very sad. I'm not going to tell you yet, but it was one time where Yudhisthira, one of the brothers, was swayed and put in a very bad situation. Now, that being said, if you think about it, life now, right? If you think about life right now, you know people that are virtuous, that no matter what you say or do, they're not going to say, oh, They're not going to do that, because that's not who they are. They don't have it in them. They'll say, I wish you the best, or they will come out of it some other way, right? Then there's then there's Duryodhan, all the sons of Dhritarashtra, the king. Now he's the blind king. And how can a king be blind? Well, he really can't. So he has Sanjaya, who is kind of his guide, and he can see things. So he can see Kurukshetra, and he says he's giving him a play-by-play as to what's happening on the battlefield. This is happening, and that is happening, and oh my gosh, it looks like Lord Krishna is running the charioteer. So they both go to Lord Krishna, to Sri Krishna, and say, we want you to help us in our battle, right? Because they know if Krishna's on their side, they all think, well, I could win if he's on our side. And the reality is yeah, you have a good chance, right? But Yudhisthira and the Pandus, right? They know that if they could have his army. Arjuna knows, I could have his army, I could have his gold, I could have all this stuff, but you know what? I don't want any of that. I want Krishna. And Krishna says, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to get involved. And he says, no, it's okay. I still choose you. Now, Duryodhan doesn't know. He thinks he knows, but he's so cruel. There's 100 brothers. They're all cruel. They're just, and again, it's just like people you know today, right? People that are really good people and people that are just not good people, and for whatever reason, and usually you don't always. It's often, not very often, where you can change good and to not good, and vice versa. So Duryodhan says, no, I want the army. I definitely want the army. I want all the army, because if I have the army, I can win. And so as they go to the battlefield, they're coming to face each other, and Krishna is the charioteer for Arjuna. And Arjuna has no idea that Krishna is the king. He thinks he's his buddy, they're cowherd boys together. And he says, wait. And he just stops, drops his arrow, and does not know what's happening, because he's facing his family. He's facing cousins. He's facing teachers. And he's like, I can't do this. I can't hurt these people. I can't kill these people. That is not who I am. And what's crazy is Krishna says, he has this existential crisis at hand on the battlefield. And they have to stop the chariot. And Krishna has to have a conversation with him and say, okay, and I don't think it's in this big introduction right here, but I'll take a preview look, because I wasn't really planning on reading. I wanted to start reading from chapter 1, but maybe we'll do the introduction if you guys want to. So it's up to you guys. So what happens is when they get there, Krishna says to him, what's going on? Why are you stopping? He's trying to figure out what's happening, right, in Arjuna's mind. Why is he pausing? Why is he not going forward? And he's afraid. He doesn't want to be a killer. He's not that person, right? He's a good guy. He really is. He's very, very virtuous, and he's not the person who he wants to get one over on anybody. So, yeah, chapter 1 is observing the armies of Kurukshetra, right? I don't know if I'm saying there. Kurukshetra. And it just says, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? And remember, the blind king, he can't see, and Sanjaya has this kind of, he can see what's happening far away, right? And he says, the purport, Dhritarashtra said, Bhagavad-Gītā, in the Bhagavad-Gītā, the weekly read theistic science summarized, the Gita Mahatma, right, the glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read the Bhagavad-Gītā very scrutinizingly. Now, that's like, that's in the first paragraph. So he's saying to you, Prabhupada is saying, you need to read this book very, very carefully. There is a lot of information in this book, and if you don't scrutinize it, if you don't read every single word and go over it and go through it, which is why I want to do it with you guys, then you could miss something, right? And I don't want to miss anything. Do you? No, right? I know. And so there it says one should read the Bhagavad-Gītā with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna. Guess what? Guess who's a devotee of Sri Krishna? Me. Maybe you are too, right? So you want to understand it from the point of view of a devotee of Sri Krishna. Try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations, right? So without trying to get this ending or that ending, you're reading it to get whatever the ending is supposed to be, right? And this is just the first. I haven't finished the first page yet. I'm on the first paragraph. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad-Gītā itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Bhagavad-Gītā directly from Sri Krishna, the Lord. He spoke it directly to him. So if someone is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad-Gītā in that line of disciplical succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the world. I don't know if you're even hearing that, but that is a huge statement that you are surpassing all studies of the Vedic wisdom, right? One will find in the Bhagavad-Gītā all that is contained in other scriptures. So basically they're saying that in this book, you will find probably more, but so many things that you would find in other scriptures. By the way, if you want to join next week, we're going to be 8 to 9, and I will be. I posted the link, so I don't know if you couldn't find it. Where was the link? Instagram. Of course. Where else would it be? So it says, this is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, just so you know, I know it sounds like a very big name. So I wonder if he gets announced on his way into the door. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? That's Krishna. Lord Sri Krishna. So the topics discussed by Dhritarashtra, right, the blind king, and Sanjaya, as described in the Mahabharata, form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that the philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is what I said already, right? It's a sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age, right? So going way, way, way back. It is spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. Now, a lot of people say that he is also seen in Vrindavan, India, now, because he's come back, because we're in such a bad state of the world right now in this Kali Yuga, that he's trying to, that was part of the reason why he put this book out. Well, that's why Prabhupada came here. He said he knew Kali Yuga was coming. And he said, I've got to write as many books. I've got to tell as many people. Lord Chaitanya went dancing through the streets, singing kirtans. And and sharing Hare Krishna. Why? Because they knew that this was all coming, and they're trying to save the world or people, right? So it says here, the topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya as described in the Mahabharata from the basic principle for this great philosophy, it is understood that the philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This is a sacred place of pilgrimage. The word Dharmakshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So why? Why is that important? Well, your Dharma your Dharma changes, but like for me, like my part of my Dharma is I'm a wife, I'm a mother. Dharma is kind of what you do in the world, right? But I digress. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna, right, as his charioteer. And the father of the Kurus, Dhritarashtra, he was really doubtful about the fact that his kids and his family would do well, because he knew that Lord Sri Krishna was not on his side. Even though he wasn't fighting, he knew who Krishna was. So he knew better. He knew, and he was worried. And that's why he had Sanjaya kind of going over this whole, like kind of bit by bit, what was going on the battlefield. And he was in doubt. He inquired from the secretary, well, what did they do? What did they do? And he said he was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in the field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant, right? Like, why is he continually asking? Well, it's pretty significant because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship. Aha, see? That's another mic drop. You're going to see, as we read this book, if you choose to join me on this journey, there are mic drop moments everywhere, right? You're like, wait, what? This was a place of worship? Yes. So this is why Dhritarashtra was nervous, because he knew that something could happen. He was confident that both his sons and the younger brother of Pandu, they were assembled in this field, the engagement of war. Still, the inquiry is significant. He did not want to compromise between the cousins and the brothers. He wanted to make sure the fate of his sons on the battlefield, because the battlefield was arranged to be fought. The battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, right? But he was nervous, and it was mentioned also elsewhere in the Vedas that the place of, even for denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of this holy place and the outcome of the Pandu favorably. And because the nature that they were all virtuous, which Dhritarashtra just doesn't want to admit that his sons, of course they're his sons, so he wants to follow them and really take care of them, but he knows the Pandus are the good guys. He knows that, like, as we read through this book, you'll find there's a bunch of times where the Kurus, the Pandus, their cousins, try and kill their own cousins. It's very, very sad. Out of jealousy, or they want the kingdom, or they want more. All these kind of like these financial things, right? They want a new car, they want a new house, they want a new this, they want that, and they don't want the Pandus to have anything, right? And so because of that, they try and kill them. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So, he did not want to compromise between the cousins and the brothers, so he was sure the fate of his sons on the battlefield. The battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas. We talked about this. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably. because by nature, they were all virtuous. So if they were in a place of worship, he knew that they would automatically have a kind of an upper hand because they were in a place of worship and they were very, very virtuous men, right? Also, the sons of Pandu favored the nature, they were all virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyas. So Vyas, who we read about more, is a sage, right? And he's someone he's like a sage that goes off into a cave and meditates and then just comes when you need him, right? So he's like a very serious sage meditator. Therefore, the mercy of Vyasa Sanjaya was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra, even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield. So both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family. I mean, so crazy, right? But Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons are the Kurus, right? And he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage altogether. So he was just as bad as his kids. His kids were taking after him, right? Like he just totally, like his younger brother died. And he didn't take care of them. He literally took care of just his own sons and left his brother's sons to just fend for themselves. Horrible. So karma there is not going to be so good. So I don't know what time. Oh, we only have a couple minutes, but we're almost through text 1, right? So both the Pandus and the sons of Dhritarashtra, but they belong to the same family. We talked about this. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with the nephews, the sons of Pandu, as in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, he was present. The unwanted plants, like Dhritarashtra's son, sorry, I love that they call his son the unwanted plant, and the son, and Dhritarashtra, the king, and Duryodhana, his son, and others would be wiped out. And thoroughly religious persons, headed by Yudhisthira, a Pandu, would be established by the Lord. So this is the significance of the words Dharma, Setra, and Kudu, Setra, apart from their historical and Vedic importance. Text 1. Can you imagine? Just that in text 1. So, if you want to join me on this journey, I have all these little tapes, all these really great, we can learn, if you'd like, we can learn some texts in Sanskrit together. I think that would be fun, but up to you guys. So that's just one. That's like a little taste of what you're going to get when you read this. And what it does is it helps you kind of understand really the world around you. Obviously, we're not on a battlefield, but New York can be a battlefield, right? It can be. And so it's all how you look at things, right? So this book has helped me so much. And because it's helped me, my thought was, I want to help other people. That's what I thought. I just thought, I want to help other people, right? And I keep looking up here, but here you are down here. So I want to help you. And not that I'm a doctor, but I really feel like Srila Prabhupada can help you, right? And that's who helped me. So if you want to join me, you can either, if you miss one, you can catch it on YouTube, but you can also go to Instagram, and the day of, I will be posting the link, and then you can just join on Zoom, and then we can read together, and we can go live, and then we'll go from there. So I hope to see you guys next week. I'm looking up and down, I hope to see you next week, and I hope you have a beautiful night. Wait, I just want to say one last prayer. Om Gyana Timirandasya Yananjana Shakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Hayom Tatsat. Have a good night.
Recording stopped.